I know I've always given the government a hard time talking about them. But this time I'm going to shout out President Tinubu, the current president of the country. I'm going to shout him out because I found something out recently. And I'm trying to find it on the internet. I found something out recently that he's been the only president so far who's done it. And for that, I'm going to shout him out, right? It's called the Southeast Development Commission. And all this was due to the president or the presidency of Tinubu. He's the one who established this. Let's see here. Someone has this story on LinkedIn for some reason. All right. Marco Koye, establishing the Southeast Development Commission, a path to economic revival. This was a post on August 7th of 2024. And it says, last month, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, signed a bill to establish the Southeast Development Commission into law. This bill, first introduced in the National Assembly in June 2016, seeks to reconstruct and rehabilitate infrastructure damages suffered by the region during the Nigerian Civil War of 1967 through 1970. Shout out to President Tinubu on this one. And this is not something you'd hear me say so often. But hey, they say if someone does good, you got to give him credit. And I'm one person who's always going to give credit for what I think is right? So for this one, I'm going to shout him out for sure. Shout out to you, man. Even though the Southeast region in Nigeria didn't even vote for this guy, the block vote of the Southeast region, which consists of 5 states, Abia, Anambra, Imo, Ebonyi, and what's the other one? Enugu. These 5 states, they didn't vote for him. The majority of the votes, they gave it to Peter Obi, who lost to the last election. But they didn't care, or we didn't care, because I'm part of that group, right? I'm part of the Ndi Igbo. I'm part of the group. We didn't care. We gave Peter Obi the block vote. The block vote. Because we didn't care. We didn't care for Tinubu. We didn't care much for him. We didn't care much for the previous administration. It's just what it is, like, right? We vote how we want to vote, not how anybody tells us to vote or whatever, right? So for Tinubu to still turn around and do this, shout out to him, man. It just tells a lot about his character. And for one, I'm also one who's going to tell you I don't like the guy, right? Because of the way he got into power. He got into power by any means possible. And he obstructed justice, all that good stuff, which was ridiculously insane. We saw how there were a lot of violence in the last election just so he could secure power. That's not how power should be gotten, right? You don't just go fight and grab power and then, call yourself the winner. I don't subscribe to that at all. But he did his thing, and that's why a lot of people still till this day have little or no respect for him as a president. But I have to shout him out on this one regardless, because the last administration, who was the Buhari's administration, the same thing. The Southeast region didn't even give him a vote as well, because we don't care, right? The first and second term, we didn't give him any votes because we don't care. And he came out and said that he wouldn't attend to the people who gave him 3% of the votes of the votes, while looking the other way to the people who gave him 97% of the votes. He made a comment like that. And it was very evident because he didn't actually do anything in the region. Even though the region has a lot of potential in terms of human resources, but he just ignored the region for his 8 years term. So for that, I'm gonna say shout out to Tinubu, President Tinubu, because he's done something that no other person has done in the history of Nigeria. You know, after the war in 1970, the Nigerian government seized all the properties of the Igbo people in all regions, seized all the properties of these people. And when these people came back to reintegrate into the country, because they lost the war, right? The government said, hey, you started a war, that's your consequence. That's the consequence of you starting a war. You're not going to get anything back. Here is 20 pounds for you, regardless of what you had before in the bank. Here is 20 pounds for you. So the Ndi Igbo built from scratch, like literally built from scratch by themselves without a lot of government intervention. So for President Tinubu to right now come back and set up this commission, that's a huge deal. And for that, shout out to him, man. There's another commission called the Niger Delta Commission. I don't understand why that commission or the Development Commission exists, because this region wasn't necessarily affected by any natural disaster or what have you, right? They just happen to have the most of the nation's natural resources. So by that, automatically they were given a commission, a development commission. Hopefully the commission or the Southeast Development Commission, I hope the people who have been entrusted with this, I hope they do good with it and actually rehabilitate the Southeast and bring more development and infrastructure to the region, because the region is yearning for stuff like that. So shout out to President Tinubu for this one.